A very good evening to all of you and a warm welcome for this event. I myself, Dr. Vikrant Patankar, I am a consultant psychiatrist, sexologist, as well as counselor practicing in Aurangabad since last 10 years. I'm attached to Apex Hospital, Kamal Nayan Bajaj Hospital, and run a private OPD at Antaranga Hospital. So, friends, today we have a panel of expert speakers, and today we'll be talking on depression, modern age disability. Friends, why depression? So if you look around your life, yourself since last 2-3 months, you will see suddenly the incidence of depression has increased. Now, if you look into the news, you will see Sushant Singh's news. If you look into the newspapers, you'll see a mob suicide within a same family, 6 people committing suicide in Ahmedabad. It was just last night. We are seeing lots of corona cases and secondary depression arising out of it, and depression associated with lockdown and its restrictions. So lots and lots of events are happening around us which are giving rise to depression. Therefore, Indian Psychiatric Society Aurangabad branch, along with IMA Aurangabad and Cipla Pharmaceuticals, have jointly collaborated to bring this event for all of us. And a special and very, very thanks to Cipla Pharmaceuticals for not using Chinese platform for today's discussion. Thank you very much, Cipla. Okay. Now, let me introduce you with our eminent speakers. To start with, our first speaker is Dr. Nilesh Shah, sir. Sir is Professor and Head, Department of Psychiatry, Lokmanya Tilak Hospital and Sion Medical College, Mumbai. Sir is excellent teacher. He not only teaches psychiatry but also teaches life. He has made difference in the lives of many PGs. I should say this, and I am privileged that I have worked under him. So a very warm welcome to Dr. Nilesh Shah, sir.
Thank you very much and namaste.
Our next speaker is Dr. Sanjeev Savji, sir. All of the Marathwada... Sir, introduce karo dya. The entire Marathwada knows you, sir. Sir is Professor and Head, Department of Psychiatry, Government Medical College, Aurangabad. And he is a senior practicing psychiatrist in Aurangabad since last 25 years. Very warm welcome, sir, to this program. Our next speaker is Dr. Monali Deshpande. He is clinical psychiatrist, as a consultant psychiatrist, as well as wellness expert in true sense, practicing in Aurangabad since last 15 years. And ma'am is also well versed with transactional analysis. She takes regular workshops for the same for those who are interested in it. So a very warm welcome to ma'am for this program. Our next speaker is our next speaker is Dr. Amol Patrikar, sir. Sir is consultant psychiatrist practicing in Aurangabad since last 10 years. He practices at Utkarsha Hospital and attached to Disha Neuropsychiatric Hospital. Sir has also expertise in criminal psychology. I know him personally. He has a very busy schedule, and sir, thank you for sparing time for us and coming to today's discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Our next speaker is Dr. Amol Deshmukh. I think not only Maharashtra but the entire India should know him, because he's not only a psychiatrist. He's my friend. He practices with me at Antaranga Hospital. Along with that, he has attachments to Apex, Kamal Nayan Bajaj, Sigma, and Disha Hospital. He's a writer, he's a poet, and a very humble person by nature. A very warm welcome to Dr. Amol Deshmukh for this program.
Thank you, Vikrant.
Yeah. A brief note for the audience. friends, we will be having a an interactive session in the form of question answers, and it will be a 50 minutes discussion followed by 10 to 15 minutes slot of time for question and for audience queries. Okay, and if you have any query, you can post it in the chat box, which is shown into your right hand lower corner side of your screen. So your questions will be asked to respective consultant psychiatrists. Thank you very much. And so we start the program, and before starting the this discussion, I would like to share a case, a real case which I have seen around 4 years back with all of you. A girl
अरे
was.
विक्रांत अश्विन सांग मागचा आवाज येतोय तू आधी
Hello, sir. Yes, sir.
मागे आवाज येतोय ते म्यूट करायला
All please mute the non-speaking persons, please. Okay. So can we start?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So 23-year-old female was brought by her mama, maternal uncle, to me around 4 years back. She was an engineering student, and she was brought with complaints of frequent irritability, weight gain, increased sleep, and rejection sensitivity. So all these symptoms were since last 5 to 6 months, and she also had recent breakup, and she was failed in 2 subjects in the exams. However, she was mingling well with her friends, and her routine activities was near to normal, according to the relatives. But when I interviewed the patient, she said she was sad terribly, and she was trying very hard to come out of this phase, but she couldn't, and she was desperately trying since last 6 months for this. She also said that she has grown very, very sensitive. Somebody saying something to her, and that would stuck up into her mind and be there for long hours and hours. She became tearful, and she said that I wish it would be better if I die. So with these things, next slide please, she was brought, and then on assessing her, I found that she is having major depression along with suicidal ideations. Then I asked the family members that she really needs admission, and maybe she might need ECTs also. But her relatives refused on the grounds that I have put up their words. They said, तिला घरी कसलंच टेन्शन नाहीये डॉक्टर साहेब, आणि आता हे काही टेन्शन घ्यायचं वय आहे का? अशा धक्क्यातून सावरता आले पाहिजे. नाराज होऊन कसं चालेल? आणि ती सतत नाराज राहते, म्हणून तिला फक्त काउन्सिलिंगसाठी आम्ही तुमच्याकडे घेऊन आलोय. अँड he himself started counseling the girl in front of me, and he said her that बेटा तुला काहीही झालेलं नाहीये, हे सगळे तुझ्या मनाचे खेळ आहेत, तू मनातून हे विचार काढून टाक आणि फक्त पॉझिटिव्ह विचार करत जा. He insisted me to only counsel her. He didn't allow me to write a single medicines for her. After repeated instructions, requests, he didn't start medicines. They went back, and I guess after around 3 to 4 months, her mommy came, and she asked me that such kind of lady was brought to you around 4 months back, and she asked a very thought-provoking question. She asked me that तिला जर आम्ही त्यावेळेस ऍडमिट केलं असतं तर आम्ही तिला वाचवू शकलो असतो का? I was really shocked with this question. She hanged herself. The lady hanged herself after about 3 months. And this was really very, very traumatic. So with this background, I would like to ask our first speaker, Dr. Amol Deshmukh. Dr. Deshmukh, what is the gravity of the situation right now in the society?
Definitely, Vikrant. I think as per the WHO, that is World Health Organization, 5 to 10% of the people may need help for depression at any time. And 8 to 20%, that is a really high number, is having risk of developing depression during their lifetime. If you calculate grossly, we'll say at every 6 to 7 person, one person is having typical diagnosable depression. So you can see the number of people living in India, and you can judge the number of people can have depression at a time. And current situation is there is lot of stress going on due to corona and all the corona related things, and there are high chances that this number can rise henceforth. Vikrant.
Okay. So Amol, what exactly is the number of depressed patients in India? I'm talking particularly about India.
Yeah, I said it is 1 in 10 to 20 people is depressed. So you can see there are more than 2 to 3 lakhs people depressed at current point prevalence of time.
Okay. And with your clinical experience, what do you feel? How many percentage of patients that attain a physician's OPD actually have a depression?
I will say the number of patients are more in physicians number than in psychiatrist OPD, because if you ask me, and when I chat with my physicians friend, they will say ki, approximately 15 to 30% percent of people can have a diagnosable depression in physicians OPD.
Oh, that's huge number. That's huge number. And stick with continuation with that series only. What do you think? Does depression complicate a medical illness? Be it hypertension, be it diabetes, be it asthma. Does it complicate those things?
Definitely, Vikrant. If you see any comorbidity and when there is a dual diagnosis, definitely one entity affects the other entity. If any person having diabetes, asthma, cardiac illnesses or neurological illnesses, and if they have depression as a comorbidity, definitely it exaggerates the existing symptom of physical illness that is that the existing illness is having. Then the depression can reduce a person's motivation to make a positive lifestyles. Like we ask the person, or any physician, if ask the person to do regular exercises, if a diabetic patient is asked to control on sugar, do regular yogas, or any advice physician is advising, if the person is having comorbid depression, definitely his motivation is low, and he chances that he will not do that things regularly. That will again exaggerates the existing illness. Third, I want to say, if the person is having depression, if it is a continuous manner and it is not under treatment or not treated, then definitely the person can have a decreased immunity, so that the person having existing a physical illness may get complicated because of that. Patient doesn't follow. If a patient is having depression comorbid, patient doesn't comply to your medicines. So definitely all the factors because of the comorbidity can affect the existing illness. Vikrant.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Amol. I move on to Dr. Nilesh Shah, sir. Sir, in today's world, is it an exaggeration to call depression as modern age disability?
Thank you, Vikrant. You are absolutely right that depression nowadays can be called as a modern age disability. There is a concept of global burden of disease and years lived with disability. This is a WHO concept, and disability is measured by number of years you lived with disability. And top 5 disorders, if you see, the depression earlier was 4th position and now it is at 2nd position overall, and in women it may become the 1st position. So number of years lived with disability in women is maximum with depressed patients. So definitely, as you mentioned, it's a major cause of disability, and number of years lived in disability are maximum for the patients suffer from depression. And as we mentioned, the depression is 2 to 3 times more common in women. So women suffer a lot because of depression.
Okay. And sir, how depression impacts on the functioning of a patient, sir? Can you briefly explain this, sir?
Yes. See, first of all, a depressed patient, the sleep decreases. His sleep is affected. He is not able to sleep well. He wakes up early in the morning. He is not able to take care of himself. his attention concentration decreases, his mood changes, he becomes irritable, his interpersonal relationship gets affected, his ability to function. So in all the areas, his work is affected, he is absent-minded, he remains absent on the work, his social functioning is affected, his friends, his relatives, he stops going to all these functions. So all the areas, psychological, social, occupational, it leads to very, very significant disability.
Okay, you mean to say that the person is capable but cannot, there is discrepancy between potential and performance that happens temporarily in depression. Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Next, I move on to Dr. Amol Patrikar, sir. Sir, very interesting question. Few of youngsters came the other day to me and said, Doctor साहब वो कल ना ऐसा हुआ, घर में बैठ के बोर हो गया एंड उससे बहुत डिप्रेशन आ गया था मुझे, एंड फिर मैं थोड़ा बाहर घूमा, ये किया वो किया, तो वो डिप्रेशन चला गया. तो डिप्रेशन these days is a very commonly and loosely used term, I would say. Many of them use, youngsters use it, the spiritual gurus use it, babas use it, life coaches use it, social workers use it, even teachers use the term depression also. So ये डिप्रेशन और आप जिसको ट्रीट करते हैं वो डिप्रेशन, इज इट द सेम, एंड व्हाट रादर आई वुड आस्क यू, व्हाट इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ डिप्रेशन?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Vikrant. Definitely, as you say, there is a difference between feeling depressed and having depression. So there is a criteria for like defining the depression. As per our guidelines, ICD-10 guidelines, we define depression when they are associated with one of the key symptoms, like the patient feels persistent sadness or low mood with loss of interest in pleasurable activity, or they have a fatigue or low energy. But one of these four symptoms should be last for most of the day, and that to be lasting for most of the time of the day for at least 2 weeks. There is a criteria, like the duration of the time of the day, most of the time of the day, and that to be for at least for 15 days. When one of these symptoms like sadness, loss of interest, fatigue you experience, then we call this as an depression. There are again, it should be associated with some associated symptoms also, like sleep disturbances. In depression you can experience there is a sleep is reduced or even it can increase, as well as there is a poor concentration. Patient feels difficulty in decision making. They have low self confidence. There is an appetite is gone down or even it may increase. There are the incidents of suicidal acts, or the patient may come with you like suicidal ideation, which may be in active form or in is a passive form also. So you should be like very vigilant about this question. He or she may experience agitation, or they get irritable on very small issues. You feel that the irritability is going up, the patience is going down, and most of the time these patients, they feel guilt. They have some guilt feeling, like something happened in past or mistakes. They always expresses about guilt. So these are some associated symptoms, and some key symptoms. When there is a combination of these symptoms lasting for more than 15 days, and that to be even for more than 4 to 6 weeks, then we called as in this is a depression now.
For 15 days, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Okay, sir, but you said about suicidal ideation. I have few queries about it. If a person is angry and if a person feels frustrated, he may feel that okay यार क्या जिंदगी में पड़ा है, इससे अच्छा तो ये बेटर है मर जाओ. तो ये जो impulsive thoughts आते हैं सर suicide के, how are they actual suicidal ideations or something else?
Yes, Vikrant.
And one more question related to it: what is difference between active suicidal ideations and passive suicidal ideations, sir?
Yeah. There are active and passive suicidal ideation, but whatever is the nature of this ideation, Vikrant, we should take it seriously. Even when this patient is getting irritable and he once expresses the suicidal thoughts, so we should be like take it seriously or take it in the consideration. Active means active suicidal ideation. There are most of the time it is associated with suicidal attempts, or something is bad happened in his or her life, that may provoke him to do. They actually think about committed suicide with. They have plans. They prepare for that. So these are some we have to take consideration. Passive things, patient, as you said, sometimes they express, yes, I don't feel like my life is worthless now, and I feel I should commit suicide. Most of the time, they even in a normal talk way also they express, but they are not associated with any active suicidal ideation. Then we may say them it is passive. Still, the most important thing, whether it is an active or passive, we should consider it very seriously.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. I would now move on to Dr. Sanjeev Savji, sir. Sir, Patrikar said in his definition of suicide that sadness has to be present most of the day. तो सर मुझे भी कभी कभी सैडनेस तो आता है सर, कुछ पेशेंट्स कम हो गए तो सैडनेस आता है सर. सो देन इज दिस सैडनेस अ डिप्रेशन और इज इट समथिंग डिफरेंस? आई मीन व्हाट इज डिफरेंस बिटवीन दिस? How a person can understand that he is in the zone of sadness or he is in the zone of depression? He cannot remember all the diagnostic criteria of depression, sir.
There is no need to remember diagnostic criteria.
Okay.
See, emotions make us human. And without emotions, life will be, without juice. There will be no charm in life. So various emotions, positive and negative, is the hallmark of life, human experience. Feeling sad or feeling depressed is fine. And emotions do not come in blocks. They come as spectrum. And therefore, sadness and depression, they are both negative emotions. Sadness is fine, it's bearable, whereas depression is intense and many times unbearable emotion. So if you have intense unbearable emotion, consider that it needs attention. Otherwise, we keep on getting emotional. Sometimes we feel happy, sometimes we feel bored, sometimes we feel interested, sometimes we feel angry, sometimes we feel irritated. So it's normal to have different emotions. But if the emotion, if you can't get out of that emotion for a pretty long time, like Amol said, it should last all along the day, and that too for 15 days, then only you can consider that it is depression. But, if it is real depression, why wait for 15 days? So if it is intense and you can't get out of that feeling, then it needs attention. You should consult a specialist.
How long should a person wait, sir, then?
If it is intense and if you can't get out of that feeling, you should not wait, actually. You should go to a specialist, let him decide.
So you mean to say even if it lasts for a single day or two, then you should see a psychiatrist?
Yeah, if it is very intense.
If it
and
is
if you can't get out of it.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, very much. Now I move on to Dr. Monali Deshpande. Happy to see you, madam, again. Ma'am,
Thank you, Vikrant.
Ma'am, the name of your clinic is, I think, Mind's Eye.
Yes.
So we all know where the brain is, we all know where the eye is, but where the mind is, ma'am? Can you help us? Can you guide us where the mind is? And what is the difference between the two, the brain and the mind?
Okay, mind is the mysterious thing which is talked about every day, and we live in and in out. Mind basically is the seat of human conscience, and it is an organ that perceives, feels, thinks, has cognitions, responds, memorizes, and remembers, and helps us to act. So basically, in totality, an organism's mental process, be it conscious or be it unconscious, is human mind. Now your question is where does it actually reside? कहाँ पर रहता है? So actually, if you ask me, it is nowhere, but it is everywhere. At the same time, it is the neurophysiology of the brain, and mind. Its existence inside the brain in the form of those neurophysiological processes, those chemical processes, and those electrical impulses inside the brain. So each emotion that you feel, each thought that you think is some chemical attaching somewhere to a different receptor, bringing in those electrical changes, those physiological changes, opening up of cellular channels and bringing in those changes. So to sum it up, mind is inside the brain, and everything that we treat and see as mental disorders are basically brain-based disorders.
Okay. So, can you tell us? We all know that there are some serotonin abnormalities in depression. So, other than serotonin, what neurochemical abnormalities do you see, ma'am, in depression? Hello.
Serotonin is one of the chemical, but then depression per se affects most of the areas of the brain, which includes the prefrontal cortex, orbitofrontal cortex, hippocampus, amygdala, and hypothalamus. So limbic system and its attachment to the cortical, subcortical structures, everything gets affected. So it is not only about serotonin, it is also norepinephrine, dopamine, acetylcholine, and GABA, for that matter, which are affected in depression. Basically, when a person is depressed, all those areas of brain, which I just mentioned a minute before, show a hypometabolism as well as hypoperfusion. So, is less, the perfusion is less, and as the resistance increases, because of non-treatment or chronicity of illnesses, even the volume of these areas, like the hippocampal volume, also decreases. In totality, if depression is not treated, the brain starts sinking and shrinking. And if you actually treat depression, the medicines actually are neuroplastic, so they help the brain revive itself back.
Okay. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Coming back to Amol, Amol, you must agree. You will agree rather. These days, people are growing very sensitive. They are sensitive for failures, especially the students' age group. Failure tolerate नहीं कर पाते. So let's say housewives, they are very sensitive for rejections. So my question is this sensitivity a sign of depression? Because Dr. Patrikar, whatever has given the diagnostic criteria of depression, वो sensitivity कहाँ fit नहीं होता है. So is it a sign of depression then?
Definitely, Vikrant. As Patrikar sir has very well noticed or said, what are the typical symptoms of depression? But there is some atypicality attached to depression. Their patients nowadays, I will say, such type of patients are rising because they will not have a proper tightness of mood, but they present in other form of symptoms like hypersomnia. They sleep excessively than what they were sleeping before. They have increased appetite, or they have significant weight gain, or some people have increased sensitivity. That is we called as rejection and approval imbalance. People are getting more sensitive to the rejection. I think the case you have discussed initially at the start of the presentation are mostly fit in this criteria of atypical depression. And again, a typical symptom of atypical depression is there is a laden paralysis. Patient feel heaviness, like feel a paralysis, paralytic symptoms. So apart from routine symptoms of depression, patient can have hypersomnia, increased appetite or weight gain. Patient gets more sensitive. थोडंसं काही बोललं तर मला राग येतो, मला सहन होत नाही, अशा प्रकारचे सिम्पटम येऊ शकतात. And patient can have laden paralysis. So if all these 4 to 5 symptoms are present in patient, and if it is persistent and affecting his personal relationship life, professional life. I will say globally, if it is hampering, definitely it can be said as it is a presentation of a typical depression and needs an attention from expertise. Thank you, Vikram.
Okay, so very important message for all the Google boys and Google girls, that if you don't find the sensitivity part fitting into the depression criteria, then don't be very relaxed, because even then that can be a feature of rejection sensitivity, can be a feature of depression. I move on to Dr. Nilesh Shah, sir. Sir, a tricky question for you. Children can't express their emotions verbally well enough. So how do you diagnose depression in children, sir?
Yeah. Unfortunately, depression doesn't leave anyone. Nobody is immune to depression. So children, adults, adolescents, elderly people, everybody can develop depression. I'll give you one case which we had. This boy, like any other boy, was coming to our OPD, and earlier he was coming for hyperactivity. And he was all over the place, very active, shouting, screaming, running around, touching everywhere. And parents had a hard time controlling him. In the school, he was very active. He had many friends, always laughing, enjoying, jumping. And suddenly, one fine day, the mother came and said that she has noticed a change in the behavior for last 1 or 2 weeks. And that change in the behavior, that his hyperactivity had totally gone down. He used to cry frequently, clinging behavior, always going behind the mother, not going out to play, remaining at home, refused to go to school, all the time fearful that no, she doesn't want to go to school. And he had become cranky and irritable. And we were wondering, and mother was also wondering, that the person who was all over the place, how come he has become now very sad, depressed, only sitting at one place, not mixing with friends, refusing. He used to enjoy Cartoon Network films on TV. Now he was not enjoying. So whatever symptoms we see in adults, also similar symptoms. Now occupation, for us working, for children going to school is occupation. So their attention, concentration in studies, most of the time they are playing with their friends. So they decrease, they stop meeting. And if you see crankiness, irritability, crying all the time, then these are the symptoms of depression in children.
Okay, sir. Sir, you run a child psychiatry OPD at Science, sir. So what is the youngest age at which you have diagnosed depression?
We have diagnosed at very young age, 3, 4 years, 5 years. We have these children with thalassemia. And many of these children are at very young age admitted in our pediatric ward for blood transfusion, etc. And I have seen 4-year, 5-year-old children, and the parents are saying that when he was absolutely fine, happy, running around, and after admission in the hospital for many days for chronic illness, they develop all the symptoms of depression. They withdraw, they become aloof, they don't want to talk to anyone over what he mentioned, sensitivity, over a trivial matter. They start crying, their sleep is affected, their appetite is affected. They don't play with other children in the ward. So I have seen even depression in very, very young children, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years old children. Usually it is associated with a medical disorder.
Okay, sir. And sir, how is the prognosis of depression in children, specifically children?
In general, prognosis of depression is very good. Almost very confidently, we can say 7 out of 10 patients, 8 out of 10 patients recover very well. And even in children, adolescent, adults, it is a treatable condition. And nowadays, we have very good medicines with which the children or adolescents, adults improve. Almost 8 out of 10 patients improve. And for those who do not improve, we have electroconvulsive therapy, ketamine therapy, counseling, psychotherapy, number of other methods by which we can help them. So prognosis, depression is a treatable condition, and prognosis in majority of the patients is very good.
Even in children, it's good. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I move on to Dr. Amol Patrikar, sir.
Yes.
Sir, why more people are getting depressed these days?
True, you are true. Really, nowadays we are getting too many patients of depression. So there are multiple reasons. as per Dr. Amol said, ki, 1 in 20 are suffering from depression. But you know, as just recently, according to the WHO, we just came to know that India is the most depressed country in the world, followed by China and USA. So, at least 6.5% of the Indian population is suffering from depression. There are multiple reasons. Like nowadays, there is a competitiveness in the world. Everybody is behind getting to a better life, increase urbanization. Most of the time, they have isolated life. They are lacking friends, family supports. There is a nuclear family. People used to spend time with their friends, family, and to have family support. But nowadays, we don't see too many people in their families. There are multiple financial problems with urbanization and competitiveness. It comes with the financial problems because of poverty and most of the thing in increased rate of crimes in the major of the cities. You know that there is uncertainty most of the time. Like financially, they people are insecure. Even socially, they get disconnected. They are insecure. There is uncertainty of people have a lot of expectation. Like even they have a lot of expectation, and other people also expect many things from them. So discrepancy is
Dr. Patrikar sir, I would like to interrupt you here. You said financial problems causing depression. So would you agree with the fact that money is the best antidepressant?
to some extent, Vikrant, this is true. Financial things bring stability most of the time, but it can vary. You know that many people having rich people also they got depression, but in most of the time, financial stability that is also very important thing. Then.
Okay.
You know that rising nowadays there is an increase with incidences of substance use. People are getting more and more people are getting affected because of addiction like alcohol and many other things. So this is a rising trend of addiction will definitely land up people in depression. Many are there again things are like social. What we see social media addiction. In social media, there are having they even these includes the same chemical changes in the brain which are seen in other addiction part. So feeling of left out, feeling of rejection, that is also coming out of the social media. That is one of the reason. And nowadays, like even rising with the psychiatric cases, even there are rising cases of medical disorders, diabetes, hypertension, thyroid, heart diseases, even pandemic like the corona, such kind of pandemics, which also brings depression. So there are multiple reasons. You know, nowadays there is a rising trend of getting depression patients in our OPDs also now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. I move on to Dr. Nilesh Shah, sir. Sir, Patrikar sir has given a list of things that can cause depression, but I feel unfortunately we can't avoid any one of those, sir. We have to live with these things in life. So my question for you is, we find in the society there are few people who have lots many problems in life, but still they don't get depressed. On the other hand, there are other people who have very less problem and but yet they get depressed. Why, sir?
Yeah, the answer is simple. It's called serotonin. Your level of serotonin in the brain. What Monali madam also mentioned, that there is a chemical, we call it neurotransmitter in the brain called serotonin. Now, if you have optimum level of serotonin, then your ability to cope with stressful situation and face the stressful situation is not compromised. Very difficult situation you will be able to cope with and will find the way out of that difficult situation. But if your serotonin level is low, then even in the best of the situations, with no financial difficulties, no family problems, everything is hunky-dory, and still you will develop sadness of mood. So that is one. Your level of serotonin decides your mood. Second is what we call genetic vulnerability. Some of us are prone to develop certain disorders. Like we know, hypertension, diabetes, these are the disorders which run in family. Similarly, depression also can run in family, and you have genetic vulnerability. So some of us are prone to develop depression. And under stressful situations, some people develop depression. Like say a friend of mine, under stressful situation develops asthma. So whenever there is a stress, there is a fight between him and his wife. Wife says, let's go for a movie. He says, no, let's go for dinner. They fight, and then he develops asthma. They neither go for movie, they nor go for dinner. They end up in hospital. So now he has a trump card with him. If wife says movie and he says dinner, wife says, okay, let's go for dinner. Because she knows, otherwise they will end up in depression. It's a genetic vulnerability.
Okay.
So if you have a genetic vulnerability to develop depression, and if you have a low serotonin level, in best of the situations you will develop depression. But if you don't have genetic vulnerability and your serotonin level is good, then in most difficult situations you will not develop depression.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. I think you have clarified all of us about why people get depressed. Okay. Next I move on to Dr. Savji sir. Sir, depression साठी कारण लागतच का नेहमी? Does depression always need a reason?
नाही लागत. सध्या टर्मिनॉलॉजी मध्ये आता बदलली आहे. आणि रिॲक्टिव्ह डिप्रेशन म्हणजे काही बाह्य कारणामुळे, बाह्य ताणांमुळे निर्माण झाले, काय प्रचंड समस्या आली, तर ब्रेकअप झाला आणि डिप्रेशन झालं, किंवा काय त्याची स्पाऊस वारली आणि डिप्रेशन झालं, तर याला रिॲक्टिव्ह डिप्रेशन असं म्हणायचं. आणि जे आंतरिक गोष्टींमुळे होतं, म्हणजे जसं सेरोटोनिन आहे, त्याच्यामुळे होणारं डिप्रेशन हे एंडोजिनस डिप्रेशन असं म्हटलं जाईल. त्याला काही कारण लागत नाही, ते विनाकारण होतं. पण हे आपण ओव्हरऑल लक्षात ठेवण्यासाठी असं आहे की डिप्रेशनला कारण लागतंच असं नाही. कदाचित कारण असेल, बरेच वेळेला जिथे कारण आहे असं वाटत असतं तिथेही ते कारण संयुक्तिक नसतं. प्रथमदर्शनी असं वाटतं की याच्यामुळे झालंय म्हणून, पण ते खरं कारण नसतं डिप्रेशन होण्याचं.
Okay. Fine. Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, can you give a quick example of when everything is okay, still the person has developed depression? A well-known figure, if you know, public figure, if any.
आता के आहे सुशांत सिंग, दीपिका पडुकोणे.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you, sir. I move on to Monali, madam. Ma'am, people come to our OPD. People come.
Yes.
The more the IQ, the more people demand that they don't want to take the medicines, and kindly address this person with counseling only. So which is okay on their part. But my question to you is, till what stage of depression counseling, rather only counseling as a monotherapy, works very well, and after what stage counseling doesn't work? You have to give medicines.
Okay. This is the usual thing that we face in our OPD, day in and day out. We first need to understand what counseling actually means. Because most of us, as we use the word depression loosely, are also using the word counseling very loosely. What happens is people think counseling is one of the advice that you can give to people over a cup of tea, which is not the case. Counseling actually means facilitating personal growth by showing mirror to individuals about what they are going through and how they are thinking, feeling at that moment of time. To be really honest, if it is just one of the stress that one can actually handle and understand, or a single problem that one is facing in life, or some interpersonal issue which has not affected rest of the functioning in one's life, be it social functioning or other biological functioning, one can think of giving only counseling. In cases of mild depression, wherein you see that the symptoms are very mild and they haven't gone to a level of moderate to severe depression, a chance to cognitive behavioral approach or rational emotive behavior therapy can be given But the only thing that counseling demands is a lot of time and investment as far as money is concerned, and a little bit of honest commitment towards the change from patient's side. But if it is moderate to severe depression, wherein you have all vegetative symptoms within your body, and it has affected major part of your life, I suppose medicines are must. And anyone who is speaking of suicide, we are not going to only counsel and tell him that life is beautiful and you just have to socialize with friends, have a cup of coffee or drink with them. Suicide is a medical emergency. It is to be handled only with medicines and ECTs if need be. So, in cases of severe depression, in cases of depression which is more than moderate, I think counseling along with medicines is must. And if you really ask me, most of the mental disorders, we would prefer doing both, but it all depends on the patients. The patients have to be mindful, the patients have to be ready for the change, and investment as far as time and money both is needed from the patient's side when it comes to counseling.
Okay, okay. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot. I move on to Dr. Patrikar, sir. Sir, how do you treat depression? What are the possible options you have while treating depression?
Yes, Vikrant. As per Dr. Monali ma'am says, there are the treatment should be like the multiple. According to the severity of the depression, we decide the line of the management. But still, the options we have right now.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Okay. The options we have like pharmacotherapy. In that we can use antidepressants like anxiolytic. There are some antipsychotic medications and even some mood stabilizers. There is an option of, as per ma'am says, psychotherapies there, which there are multiple counseling sessions. There are motivational therapy, relaxation therapy, or cognitive therapy. We can use as a non-pharmacological way of dealing in early or mild to moderate cases. Now we'll come to the electroconvulsive therapy, which is called as ECT. ECTs we use in the cases of like the patient who are not responding to the medicines, or what we call them as an resistant cases, or the patient who have an active suicidal ideation, and even some cases of like even psychosis, or the patient who develop the catatonic symptoms. These are some indication. Then we should go for even electroconvulsive therapy. Most of the time there is a multi-pronged approach, and it should be in a combination of medicines, some counseling, and in needy case even ECT also. In other Western countries, they even use additional some light therapy, like they use the white light, or they keep the patient in white light, especially in seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorder cases. There are some other lifestyle modification also. Like we should go for lifestyle modification, which we like regular exercise for 30 minutes. Then there are some yoga meditation. You can do avoid alcohol. That is the most important thing. And you should develop the skill to deal with the stress without using such kind of addiction. Then avoiding the negative people, setting boundaries for your even in professional and personal life, which helps you a lot. People should get that they should learn to take care of themselves by having plenty of sleep, then eating healthy diet, participating in some physical activities, or preserving their hobbies. So these are some lifestyle modification things. Alternative treatments, as per people says, there are some vitamin deficiencies. They may lead to the depression. So vitamin B12, B6, and vitamin D3 supplementation, some omega-3 fatty acids, or S-adenosine, addition of these medicines in your other medication, which will help you to control the symptoms of depression.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Sir, what is the drug of choice for depression? I mean, which is the molecule that all of our physicians can use very safely as a first-hand treatment for depression?
Sure. Vikrant, most of right now the most popular medicines are the SSRIs groups, like we call it as selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. The drugs which comes in this category are escitalopram, then sertraline, there are some fluoxetine, so and even clomipramine, fluoxamine, many drugs are there. But with general physician, they can use escitalopram is a very good drug, even sertraline and fluoxetine, the three basic drugs which gives you ample of the result in mild cases of depression.
So what is the adequate dose of escitalopram?
Yeah, escitalopram you can start from the 5 mg also. At general physician level, they can move to the 10 mg also. But
Okay.
if the patient, if the physician feels that the patient are not responding, so then better then they can refer patient to the psychiatrist so that they can manage the doses or titrate the next cases.
Okay, sir. So regarding ECTs, are ECTs traumatic?
Yeah, Vikrant, the thing is actually there are some misconceptions about ECTs in our recent days because it comes in the name electroconvulsive therapy, which initially people used to call them as a shock treatment. But nowadays, this is a much more modified technique, a safer option, and which will definitely treat the depression which is not responding to the medicines or the cases with the suicidal action. They have wonderful results. I would say ECTs is a very safe procedure in which we induces the control seizures. Like doctor induces the control seizures by giving electric current or passing electric currents to the brain, and that to be under general anesthesia, so that the patient may not get they don't get any problem in that they are basically monitored physically, and even they shouldn't get any injuries and other fractures and these things which people used to say. So we take precautions. We use white blocker to avoid tongue plates. We hold the patient very safely so that they shouldn't fall out or they shouldn't get any injury. And we use even muscle relaxant so that the muscles get relaxed. So very modified and control thing, and ECT is having wonderful results. Like in depression. Yes, Vikrant.
Quick answer for this question, sir. ECTs has more side effects or medicines, antidepressants?
I would say that antidepressants have some side effect in chronic. ECT is having what we use in our private practice. I don't see as much serious side effect with ECTs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I move on to Dr. Sanjeev Savji, sir. Sir, many of our physician friends refer patients to us. When they see the patient is really having depression and he is in need of some help, they do refer patients to us. But one technical difficulty most of them encounter, when they refer patient, when they say something to the patient, you need a psychiatric consultation or you need to see a specialist, patient become very angry on the doctor itself, and there is a lot of resistance on the part of patients to go to the psychiatrist. Rather they choose to change the physician, but then they don't go to the psychiatrist. So the question is, how should a physician communicate to the patient that he needs help?
See, basically आपल्या एज्युकेशन सिस्टीम मधला हा प्रॉब्लेम. त्यांना पूर्वी तर मेडिकल कॉलेजेसमध्ये सायकॅट्री हा सब्जेक्टच नव्हता, त्याच्यामुळे त्यांना सायकॅट्री डिप्रेशन हे काही माहिती नव्हतं. आता फॉर्च्युनेटली सगळ्या मेडिकल कॉलेजेसमध्ये सब्जेक्ट आहे, पण अजूनही सगळे विद्यार्थी ते काही अटेंड करत नाही. प्रश्न असा आहे की ते सांगताना पेशंटला काय सांगतात, तुम्हाला काही झालेलं नाही, हे सायकोलॉजिकल. आता काही झालेलं नाही हे सायकोलॉजिकल आहे म्हणजे काय, ते पेशंटला वाटतं एक ते ढोंग आहे किंवा नाटक करतोय किंवा ते बाहेरचं बिहेरचं काहीतरी असलं. हा एक चुकीचा संदेश त्यांच्याकडे दिला जातो. तेव्हा डॉक्टर्सनी हे लक्षात आधी घेतलं पाहिजे की तुला प्रॉब्लेम आहे, पण त्याचं कारण हे शारीरिक आजारात नसून ते मानसिक आजारात आहे. आणि त्या मानसिक आजाराच्या इलाजासाठी जसं तुला हार्टचा प्रॉब्लेम असेल तर हार्टच्या डॉक्टरकडे जायला लागतं, कानाचा प्रॉब्लेम असेल तर कानाच्या डॉक्टरकडे जायला लागतं, मनाचा प्रॉब्लेम आहे, मनाचा आजार आहे तर तुला मनाच्या डॉक्टरकडे जायला लागेल. हे जर व्यवस्थित सांगितलं तर त्यांना प्रॉब्लेम येणार नाही. खूप सारा प्रॉब्लेम त्यांचा तिथे कमी होऊ शकतो. फक्त ते सांगताना व्यवस्थित सांगितलं पाहिजे. तुम्हाला काही झालेलं नाही असं सांगितलं की सगळं मुसळ केरात जातं. काही झालेलं नाही तर तो त्रास काय आहे, कशामुळे आहे, तो पेशंट असं विचारत नाही त्याला काय झालेलं नाही, त्रास कशामुळे. हे पेशंटने विचारलं तर लक्षात येईल. आता दुसरी गोष्ट, पेशंटचा विश्वास संपादन केलेलं डॉक्टर असेल तर त्यांनी सांगितलेलं पेशंट ऐकतं. पण जर ते नसेल, तो वरवरच्याच गोष्टी करणारा डॉक्टर असेल किंवा तो त्याचा पेशंट डॉक्टर रिलेशनशिप ही वरवरची असेल तर तो ऐकणार नाही. हे होतं. मी असे पाहिलेले आहेत लोक कन्सल्टंट्स मोठे मोठे की ज्यांनी सांगितलं तर ते पेशंट काही करायला तयार असतं. त्यांचा पूर्ण विश्वास असतो त्यांची. हा पेशंट डॉक्टर रिलेशनशिपचा ते कशात डेव्हलप करतात त्याच्याशी रिलेशनशिप त्याच्यावर पण अवलंबून असतं. आता अजून आपल्या समाजामध्ये काही रूढी आहेत ज्याची आपण काळजी घेतली पाहिजे. एक समाज असा आहे की औषधं घेणं वाईट असतं. औषधं घेणं म्हणजे आर्टिफिशियल लाईफ. मला नॅचरल सगळं झालं पाहिजे तर ते नॉर्मल लाईफ. असं जरुरी नाही आहे. जर औषधं घेऊन तुमचं जीवन सुखकारक होत असेल तर औषधं घ्यायला पाहिजे. जर चष्मा लावून माझी दृष्टी चांगली होत असेल तर मी चष्मा लावायला पाहिजे. सरळ गोष्ट आहे. त्रास का सहन करत बसायचं, ही समज सुद्धा समाजात वाढली पाहिजे. पण त्याचबरोबर ही ओटीसी जी ऍटिट्यूड आहे ना, ही थांबली पाहिजे. कुठल्या डॉक्टरकडे जायचं हे 10 वेळा विचार करून जा, पण एकदा त्या डॉक्टरकडे गेले की तो सांगतो त्याच्याप्रमाणे ऐका. हे पेशंट समाजाचं प्रबोधन व्हायला पाहिजे. मग तुम्ही डॉक्टरकडे जाऊन मला किमोथेरपी द्या असं सांगता का? असं नाही सांगत ना. मग डॉक्टरकडे जाऊन मला काउन्सिलिंग करा हे कशाला, त्या डॉक्टरला ठरवू द्या की मला काय ट्रीटमेंट द्यायची आहे हे तुम्हाला सांगण्याची गरज नाही ना. तो डॉक्टर कॉम्पिटंट आहे ते ठरवण्यासाठी. हा विश्वास असला पाहिजे.
ओके.
मला असं वाटतं की हे जर आपण नीट फॉलो केलं तर समस्या राहणार नाही.
Okay, sir, but my question was a bit different. I would like to know Dr. Nilesh Shah sir's view on this. Sir, we assume that the consulting physician counsels them very well, but when the patients hear madness for sadness. So when they ask them to see, so how to make this communication well enough, sir? On the part of patient, how to communicate? Sir said on the part of doctors, but on the part of patients, how to do it?
You are absolutely right that psychiatrist means पागलों के डॉक्टर, वेडे यांचे डॉक्टर. So we are known by the illness which we treat, and the most common feeling is that psychiatrist म्हणजे वेडे यांचे डॉक्टर. काही लोक असं पण म्हणतात यांच्या बोलत नाही, वेडे डॉक्टर. तर psychiatrist is equated, and if you tell somebody that why don't you go and meet a psychiatrist, the first answer is मला काही वेड लागलं आहे का. But schizophrenia, that is वेडपण या madness, is 1 in 100 patients, 1%. Depression, in 1 out of 5 women and 1 out of 10 men develop depression at least once in their lifetime. So if at all psychiatrists are to be labeled, they should be called as depression ke doctor. So I tell myself मैं depression का doctor हूँ, वेडे या पागलों का doctor नहीं. Main my work is depression.
Okay.
Second, I tell that आपको एक बीमारी है जिसका नाम है serotonin deficiency syndrome. So I don't say depression. If the family physician says कि आपके दिमाग में serotonin कम हो गया है, अगर आपका थायराइड हार्मोन कम हो गया है तो आप थायराइड के डॉक्टर के पास जाएंगे और थायराइड की गोली लेंगे। आपके दिमाग में सीरोटोनिन कम हो जाने के कारण आपको रात को नींद नहीं आती है, आपको भूख नहीं लगती है, आपको खुशी महसूस नहीं होती है, ये केमिकल की बीमारी है। मुन्ना भाई कॉल से केमिकल लोचा, तो थोड़ा वो केमिकल कम ज्यादा हो गया है, आपको पार्किंसोनिज्म हो गया तो डोपामिन कम हो गया है, तो डोपामिन की गोली खानी चाहिए। सीरोटोनिन कम हो गया है तो सीरोटोनिन की गोली खानी चाहिए, जिससे सीरोटोनिन बढ़ जाएगा। सो इफ द पेशेंट अंडरस्टैंड्स कि हाँ मुझे ये सीरोटोनिन नाम का केमिकल कम हो जाने से ये हुआ है, मुझे धंधे में नुकसान होने के कारण नहीं हुआ है, मेरी बीवी भाग गई है इसलिए नहीं हुआ है, मेरी मदर इन लॉ के कारण नहीं हुआ है, मेरे हस्बैंड दारू पीते हैं उसके कारण नहीं हुआ है, ये तो 15 साल से है, शादी को 20 साल हो गए, हस्बैंड तो 15 साल से दारू पी रहे हैं, धंधे में तो कितनी बार नुकसान हो गया है, पर अभी मुझे क्यों मन में उदास लगता है, क्योंकि मेरा सीरोटोनिन कम हो गया। तो इफ वी टेल देम कि ये सीरोटोनिन डेफिशिएंसी सिंड्रोम है, सो दैट इज वन। सेकंड, एज सर मेंशन, केमिस्ट, अपने जो केमिस्ट जो होते हैं, जो दवाई देते हैं, अरे इतनी सारी गोलियां, एंड ऑल साइकियाट्रिक मेडिसिन आर कंसिडर्ड एज नींद का गोली। सो व्हेन दे गो टू केमिस्ट एंड सेज डॉक्टर ने ये गोली लिखा, अरे इतना सारा नींद का गोली, तो वी हैव टू टेल देम कि नींद की गोली नहीं है, नींद ना आना डिप्रेशन का एक सिम्टम्स है और सीरोटोनिन कम होने के कारण हुआ है, सीरोटोनिन बढ़ाने की गोली दी है, ये नींद की गोली नहीं है। एंड नाउअडेज आई हैव स्टार्टेड इवन काउंसलिंग द केमिस्ट, जो हमारे आजू बाजू केमिस्ट होते हैं जहाँ जा के हम लोग नींद की गोली नहीं देते हैं, हम डिप्रेशन ट्रीटमेंट करने की गोली देते हैं। एंड counseling of the chemist, pharmacists who are going to deliver the medicines, and if they tell them नहीं ये अच्छी गोली है, आप खाओ, बहुत अच्छी गोली है, इससे आपको फायदा होगा, so I think it will work out.
Okay.
Can I add something to this?
Sure.
Actually, this is a very common problem. बरेचसे फिजिशियन मित्र आपले eager to send patients to us, but they feel ki we advise them, but they doesn't go to the psychiatrist to meet. I think there are few steps we can follow for my physician friends, so that they can tell to their patient. Always give a patient the choice of rejection. Advise that I advise you to consult to a expert, but your choice is, you have a choice to consult. I am not doing it compulsorily. One, if you feel it is a serious condition and if you feel ki the patient should consult, then talk to the patient's relative in private that this needs to be addressed at earliest point. Second, if you give 2 minutes extra in your routine OPD for that one patient out of 10 patients and counsel about the misconception as Shah sir and Saudi sir told, then definitely a relative goes outside your chamber and thinks that I need to go to a psychiatrist or a counselor to take help for my patient and for me. Third, there are certain psychological tests available in psychiatry which diagnose some clinical conditions like depression, psychosis. So you can also tell to the patient that you can do this test with the help of psychiatrist. And fourth important point is avoid certain using some words with patient, like ये तो मेंटल हो गया, ये तो पागल हो गए, इसको कुछ नहीं है, इसके रिपोर्ट सब नॉर्मल है तो इसको कुछ नहीं, घर पे लेके जाओ. Don't talk like that. Talk, you have some problem, I'm understanding you, show the empathy towards the patient, I'm understanding your problem, but these problems need expertise other than me, so you should consult for that. And I think most of the patients who are referred to us, and if when they leave our chamber, psychiatrist chamber, 90 to 95% patients take treatment and they are happy with the treatment.
Okay, thank you, Amol. Thanks a lot.
Can I say something?
Sure, sir.
याच्यामध्ये एक अजून मेजर फॅक्टर असा आहे, जो स्टिग्मा आहे तो जनरल पब्लिकचा तर मी समजू शकतो, तो जनरल डॉक्टर्स मध्ये पण आहे. त्यांना कळत असताना सुद्धा की हे आहे तर ते सायकॅट्रिस्ट कडे जायला तयार नसतात, ते न्यूरोफिजिशियन कडे जायला तयार असतात, पण सायकॅट्रिस्ट कडे जायला तयार नसतात. आणि फक्त फिजिशियन म्हणजे नॉन सायकॅट्रिस्ट डॉक्टर्स मध्येच आहे असं नाही, खूप साऱ्या सायकॅट्रिस्ट डॉक्टर्स मध्ये पण आहे. खूप जण मी असे पाहिले आहेत की जे आपला आजार लपवण्याचा प्रयत्न करतात किंवा ट्रीटमेंट घ्यायला तयार नसतात. हा मोठा स्टिग्मा आहे. आता हळूहळू तो जाईल. मी जेव्हा प्रॅक्टिस सुरू केली त्यावेळेला तर फारच प्रॉब्लेम होते. तेव्हा कन्सल्टिंग रूम बाजारमध्ये असणंच अवघड होतं. ती आयसोलेटेड, त्याला बॅकडोअर एंट्री असं असलं तर ती चालेल असं. आता पुष्कळ परिस्थिती बदलली आहे. ही पण हळूहळू बदलेल. प्रयत्न
Okay.
करत राहूया आपण.
Yes, sure, sir. We will do that. नक्कीच करूयात. Cipla people to note, next webinar will be for chemist people, and I invite Nilesh Shah sir right now for the same. Okay. Yes. Now the next question is for Shah sir only. Sir, quick answer for this. When I don't sit on this chair, I'm a common man. So a question is for a common man mentality. People feel really proud to take lifelong treatment for depression, for diabetes, for asthma, but they really hesitate to take 6 to 9 months treatment for depression. They pull on depression for years and years. What actually is in their mind, sir? Why this resistance on the part of people and common man?
Yeah. So first of all, depression is not seen as a life-threatening illness. मी डायबिटीसची ट्रीटमेंट नाही केली तर माझा ब्लड शुगर वाढणार, मला किटो ॲसिडोसिस होणार, इन्फेक्शन होणार आणि मी मरणार. मी ब्लड प्रेशरची ट्रीटमेंट नाही घेतली तर मला हेमरेज होणार आणि मला लखवा मारणार आणि मी मरणार. So they very well understand that there are certain life-threatening illness, and if they don't treat diabetes, hypertension, their kidneys will get affected over a period of time, their vision will get affected over a period of time, and immediately they get symptoms. They get giddiness, they get headache and unmanageable symptoms. So immediately they go, and then after once or twice discontinuing the medicines, they realize that whenever they stop their medicine, they had a high blood pressure, headache, some weakness, and so they need to continue medicines. Now, unfortunately, it is not realized that depression is also life-threatening illness. If you don't treat depression, your depression get aggravated, and then you can get passive suicidal ideation, active suicidal ideation, and we see large number of patients every day. There is one case in newspaper who has hanged himself or he has jumped out of the window and killed himself because of depression. So people do not see that is one thing. Second, they feel that if I say I am depressed, it's a weakness of mind. Means they justify their depression. कि हाँ बिजनेस में नुकसान है तो डिप्रेशन होना ही है, एग्जाम में फेल हो गया तो डिप्रेशन होना ही है. It is not so. I tell them that every year 20 lakhs students appear in SSC board exam from Maharashtra. 20% of them fail. 80% pass, but 20% fail. So 8 lakh students or 4 lakh students fail. Only 4 of them attempt suicide. So if 4 lakh students fail and only 4 of them attempt suicide, that means there is something wrong with these 4 students. It's not the failure in the exam. And out of them 4, one may be that instead of 99% what he was expecting, he got 98% and he attempted suicide. So this is the important thing that they should realize, and because they don't realize this, and depression, they can live with depression. It doesn't seen as a life-threatening, and when it becomes life-threatening, obviously they go to a doctor.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Obviously, lifelong treatment for any disorder, people don't like it.
Yes. Okay. Sir, I just remembered one question. For how many of your depressed patients you have stopped medicines and they are doing really well?
Almost 50%. I treat the patients for 6 to 8 weeks, 12 weeks, patients are improved. I continue it for another 8 to 12 weeks. And then in many patients, almost 50% of the patient, we are able to gradually reduce the dose and stop it. And we tell them that it's a recurrent illness. So after 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, whenever they get another episodes of depression, at that time we can treat. But if while we are reducing the dose, again the symptoms come back, then we need to treat it for longer period of time. In that case, we continue the medicines for 2 years, 5 years. And if it's a recurrent depression, then we continue it for a little longer period of time. And yes, you're absolutely right that in some patients, it's a lifelong treatment. And as sir mentioned, that happiness is more important in life. Yes. When one realizes that happiness is not everything in life, he gets married. But otherwise, jokes apart, happiness is the most important thing in the life. So if by taking 1 or 2 tablets every night, if you are going to remain happy, then I think that is more important, to remain happy, rather than not take medicines and remain depressed and keep on crying and whining and complaining.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Last 2 questions. Now I move to Dr. Monali Deshpande. Ma'am,
Yeah, Vikrant.
what do we need to do? What do we need to learn to stay away from depression? You got my question, ma'am. Hello,
She's disconnected.
Vikrant, I did not hear you.
ma'am. The question is,
I did not hear you, Vikrant.
yeah, I'm repeating the question. What do we need to
Yeah.
learn to stay away from depression?
Okay, like any other medical illness, for depression also there are certain things that we actually need to do. Is taking care of yourself. Now, what do we mean by taking care of yourself? Number one is sleeping at proper time, getting up at proper time, having a regular schedule in your life, working well, exercising, having good nutrition, doing meditation and yoga. Apart from that, there are certain things that we actually need to emphasize and relearn and do in our life, which includes having realistic expectations from self. So one has to know oneself and expect accordingly expectations from the external world. Second important thing is we need to have healthy competition. The world has become too competitive, hence probably it is adding too much of stress. So competition and hoarding of lot of materialistic things is adding to a lot of problems. Third important thing is not going in for addictions. So any addictions, any substance abuse for that matter, brings us on the verge of depression. So any substances, be it drinking, smoking, or for that matter, usage of any other drugs, can take us towards depression. Fourth and fifth important thing is valuing oneself as human being and not being very self-critical and rigid towards things in life. So one has to be a little flexible towards things. Corona has taught us this thing that we should not be controlling our life and not planning too much, not looking too much into future. So what we need to do is we definitely plan, but we plan in realistic manner, and we should stay flexible if something fails. I think every one of us, to keep away from depression, has to be a little kind and compassionate towards oneself. So forgiving oneself for the mistakes in life, not critically evaluating oneself, and giving oneself another chance. Trusting on one's own virtues is something that I think all of us have to learn to keep the depression away. Last but not least, if ever it happens to you, depression happens to you, you do not create it. So if ever, even after doing everything, it happens to you, what you need to do is to seek a professional help with head held high. You shouldn't be feeling embarrassed, insulted, going to a psychiatrist. It is just any other medical illness that you are suffering from, just like common cold और एरर्स ऑफ रिफ्रैक्शन, जैसे चश्मा लगाते हैं, जैसे सर ने बोला, उसी हिसाब से आपका मूड खराब हो सकता है बिकॉज ब्रेन आपका उस तरह से वर्क नहीं कर रहा है. सो इन एनी केस इफ समथिंग ऑफ दिस सॉर्ट हैपेंस इवन आफ्टर व्हाटएवर वी स्पोक, being grateful in life helps us keep the depression away. So if ever depression happens, please attend to a psychiatrist, go seek help, and please follow the instructions that they give, and do not discontinue medicines till they say. So this will keep the depression away from your life.
Okay.
Thank you, Vikrant.
Yeah, thanks a lot, ma'am. I move on to the last question of this discussion. I move on to Dr. Sanjeev Savji, sir. Sir, is depression, I want a genuine answer from you, is the depression preventable by meditation and yogas, pranayamas to be specific?
The answer is yes and no.
Oh,
There are studies असं जाणवतं की नियमित योगा आणि प्राणायाम करणाऱ्यांची लाईफस्टाईल आणि एकंदरीत त्यांची आरोग्य स्थिती ही जास्त चांगली राहते. त्या आरोग्यामध्ये शारीरिक आरोग्य आणि मानसिक आरोग्य दोन्हीही येतं. योगासन आणि प्राणायाम, तर योगासन मुळातच हे एक्झरसाइज पेक्षा वेगळे आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये शारीरिक आणि मानसिक असे दोन्हीही पार्ट आहेत आणि त्यामुळे त्याचा परिणाम मानसिकतेवर होतो असे खूप सारे रिपोर्ट्स आहेत. आणि ते नियमित प्रॅक्टिस केल्याने आपल्याला मानसिक आजार काही प्रमाणात रोखता येतात. सगळ्यात मोठं आहे ते ताणाशी निगडित आहे. ताण आपल्याला निश्चितच हमखास कमी करता येतो त्यांनी. आणि ताण जर आपण कमी केला जीवनातला तर डिप्रेशन होण्याची शक्यता तेवढीच कमी होते. त्यामुळे ते निश्चितच उपयोगी. पण दुसरं असं आहे की जर सिव्हिअर डिप्रेशन आहे आणि मग मेडिटेशन करतो आणि त्याने दुरुस्त करतो असं म्हटलं तर ते होईलच असं आजच्या घडीला तरी आपण म्हणू शकत नाही. म्हणून मी म्हटलं की असं ते हो आणि नाही अशी दोन्ही उत्तर आहे.
तर मग काय फायनली काय समजावं आम्ही, यस और नो? का इनिशियली यस आणि जर होत नाही तर मग देन गो फॉर सायकॅट्रिक कन्सल्टेशन?
ऍज अ लाईफस्टाईल आपण हे प्रॅक्टिस केलं पाहिजे नियमितपणे. फक्त आजार झाल्यावरच असं नाही.
ओके, येस.
आजार झाल्यावरही ते प्रॅक्टिस चालू ठेवली पाहिजे. पण त्याने आजार दुरुस्त होईल कसं नाही, त्याच्याबरोबर ट्रीटमेंट पण घ्यावी लागेल का. पण जर नुसती ट्रीटमेंट केली आणि ट्रीटमेंट आणि योगासन असं पण केलं तर त्याचे रिझल्ट हे नुसत्या ट्रीटमेंटपेक्षा जास्त चांगले असतात.
ओके ओके, थँक्यू सर.
हा, पण मी एंड करू इच्छितो याचा एक.
येस सर.
की देवाने जर मला विचारलं की कुठला आजार तुला व्हायला पाहिजे, तुला चॉईस देतो ठरव, तर मी म्हणेन की डिप्रेशन. आणि जर त्याने विचारलं की कुठली ट्रीटमेंट तुला हवी आहे, त्याचा पण चॉईस आहे, तर मी त्याला म्हणेन ECT.
सर, एनी स्पेसिफिक रिझन
कारण
फॉर चुझिंग ECTs? फॉर चुझिंग ECTs?
It's a completely treatable illness.
Okay, thank you. So it's a very good note that sir has given, that depression is really and completely treatable illness. And as Shah sir has highlighted, more than 50% cases they have reduced medicines, stopped medicines, and the people are functioning really very, very well. Now we have lots and lots of questions from the audience. The first question is for Shah sir. Sir, I don't understand how ECTs without entering into your body cures depression.
Yeah, excellent question, and I am happy that you asked me this question.
Audience has asked this question, sir.
Yes, there are two specialties which use brain stimulation, stimulation by electric current. You have a cardiac arrest, what we call ventricular fibrillation. What do? You take defibrillator, 2 prongs, put it over here and give electric current, 300 joules, 300 millicoulombs. And the heart, which had stopped, now it starts pumping. So there are pacemaker cells in the heart which were not functioning. Now you have stimulated that, your pacemaker starts functioning and heart starts functioning. Exactly in the brain, we have pacemaker cells. These pacemaker cells causes release of serotonin, causes release of dopamine, causes release of norepinephrine on a regular basis. Now, if these pacemaker cells are not functioning properly, like pacemaker cells in the SA node in the heart, your brain is not functioning properly. You stimulate, and we give 80 millicoulombs, not 300 millicoulombs. We stimulate the brain, and these neurons, pacemaker neurons, start functioning regularly in a rhythmic manner. And serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine levels which were imbalanced, now they become in a balance. and you recover. So it's a brain stimulation by different methods. So ECT is one of the most effective methods. There are other methods of brain stimulation like RTMS or TDCS. There are other methods by which you can do the brain stimulation. So exactly the way you stimulate heart in ventricular fibrillation, defibrillation, same manner you stimulate the brain and your brain will start functioning well.
Nilesh sir,
Yes.
see, brain is many times equated to computer.
Yes.
It's human computer, much higher in version than the artificial computer. But when
Absolutely.
something goes wrong with the computer system, we reboot it and it starts working.
Right.
Oh,
Same thing happens
Yes.
with ECT.
You reboot the thing, and as you rightly said, that brain is a hardware and
Yeah.
mind is a software.
is a software. Okay. Now there's a question for Dr. Amol. Bollywood TV serials has corrupted our minds. They have misguided us about depression as well as lot of mental illness. So, what to do about it, sir? Now, what to do about means they actually want to ask you how to minimize the negative influence of media about mental illness.
Dr. Amol, means
Amol Deshmukh.
I'm not an artist, so basically,
Stage wala Amol.
definitely, there are a lot of things around Bollywood happening nowadays, but I think even if it's we have a position of an actor or a businessman or a lawyer or anyone, first thing is we are a human being. Okay, so every human being has his biological makeup, his psychological makeup, his development since childhood, his beliefs, his experiences, his defense mechanism, his coping patterns. Every person is having his social makeup, his friend circle, peer groups, and I think every person that is called as a human being can develop any form of psychiatric illness, and depression is not the exception for it. So to reduce it, I think, or to prevent it, I think what Monali madam has suggested the things, we should follow all the things. But apart from that, even doing after that, you can have an endogenous depression, that biological component dominates sometimes. And if you feel a symptoms of depression, you definitely take treatment.
No. The question is, media corrupts your mind. Media induces wrong information about mental illness into our mind. How to protect oneself from that?
Definitely, media and information overload can corrupt our mind. Definitely, we should have a filter to it. We should avoid excessive surfing of net or excessive surfing of WhatsApp or excessive seeing news channels. It will not give a solution to your problem. It will, if the person is premorbidly anxious, may get again heightened anxiety. Definitely, we should keep a filter in between that.
Okay, Sauji sir, you would like to add something to this?
Yeah, see, what they do is to sensitize or sensationalize the issue and project wrong things. So, as professionals, we should start suing them in court of law for propagating wrong things like fake news. Then only it will stop.
Oh. Sir, you should definitely take the lead in this aspect, and we will definitely follow you. The next question is for Shah sir. Sir, molecule of choice for treating children as their serotonergic track is not developed well.
Two things. One, the previous question, I think majority of the people are very intelligent, very brilliant. They have a head on their shoulder, and if Rajnikant throws a pistol on the 6th floor and then another pistol, he fires the trigger of that pistol and fires somebody, they understand all this is fake, this is all animation. and they don't believe in it. And I think as far as psychiatric disorders and this what they show in serial, people have brain on head on their shoulder, and nobody believes in what they show in the films and other things. That is one. Second, what you asked me, the question, what was that?
Sir, molecule of choice for treating children as their serotonergic tract is not developed.
I don't think so that their serotonic tract is not developed. We have used escitalopram even in children, and escitalopram is one of the most effective and safe medication. The dose is much less, so we might start with only 5 or a half tablet of 5 milligram, and children do very well respond to escitalopram. Earlier, we were using tablets like imipramine, particularly for bedwetting in children. So that was also an antidepressant. But I have used escitalopram in number of children, adolescents, and I have found good results with it. So I don't think that these medicines are not effective in children. They are effective in my clinical practice.
Okay.
I have a question to Nilesh sir. How effective are pro-nutrients?
Yeah. See, these are all additional things. Additional means they are not exactly effective, but additional factors are what we call additional toppings on the pizza. So you have to have pizza first. So I have to have proper antidepressants, and then additionally, additional toppings on the pizza, you can have jalapenos and olives and whatever you additionally want. They will have little effect. That will make your pizza a little better. But pizza has to be there. Only olives does not make the pizza. So all these, what you say, probiotics and other things are additional toppings on the pizza.
Yeah. Yes. There's again a question for Shah sir. Should each and every suicide be considered to be caused by underlying mental illness?
Yes, I think in majority, I would say majority, yes. Suicide is a symptom of psychiatric disorder. And large number of psychiatric disorders, depression being a common, patients with schizophrenia, patients with substance use disorder, patients with personality disorder, even patients with mania, schizophrenia, all kinds of patients. And I think suicide should be considered as a symptom of psychiatric disorder, and majority of the cases of suicide. And you also mentioned extended suicide, the whole family.
Yes.
So there has to be a psychiatric disorder in one of the family members and who kills himself and other members. So definitely suicide is a symptom of psychiatric disorder, and majority of suicide are result of underlying psychiatric disorder. No doubt about it.
Okay. Okay. Is Monali madam present here? Hello. Okay. Here's a question for Dr. Patrikar sir. How to counsel rural patients?
Okay. See, yes, it's a very difficult task, Vikrant, as you say. See, basically in our situation where we stay in like Maratha region, there is still, we have to initially create awareness in the people, rural population by creating, like we have to go there most of the time. You and many people of us are new psychiatrists are doing, they are taking a lot of camps, awareness programs in the villages. We have to counsel for the crowd. This is the problem and it needs treatment. Then only it is difficult. Nowadays, still even some people they started coming to our OPDs, but still there is a social stigma and there are some social taboos in the rural population. They are still hindering them to come to the OPD. So as we take camps and even some awareness programs for even rural doctors also, definitely these rural doctors, they are the connective things. Our general practitioners, they are practicing in villages. If they get aware and if they counsel about the severity of the illnesses and the symptoms of psychiatry, in our psychiatric problems.
Okay. There's a last question for Dr. Amol Deshmukh. Dr. Amol, Dr. Deshmukh, what is double depression?
Yes,
there are
Vikrant.
two questions for you. One is this double depression. Next, I'll ask again.
Definitely, Vikrant. Double depression means there is another form of depression called as a dysthymia. That is a continuous low grade of mood in any patient that can have. And even in that patient of dysthymia, if you get a major depressive episode, then that condition is called as double depression. The depression, as Shah sir said, it's dysthymia is a pizza and major depression is a topping up. It is called as double depression.
Okay, so treatment differs for it, or it's the same?
Definitely, treatment is on a similar lines, but we need to address some recent issues or recent causes of major
Related to neuroscience.
They need to
Question related to neuroscience and development.
There is background noise somewhere. Please address it. The next question for you is:
Compulsory है, practicing है.
I've seen, have you seen any pure case of depression? Because most of the depressed patients have anxiety, and most of the patients with anxiety have depression. So there's the question for you: have you seen
Therapeutic.
Can you repeat the
or
question?
rather how to differentiate between anxiety and depression, because many of the symptoms overlap?
Definitely, anxiety and depression are separate entity, and sometimes they can co-occur as mixed anxiety depressive disorder. But definitely, the psyche of anxiety and depression is different. In anxiety, there is definitely a theme of threat to self. So there are more symptoms of apprehension, anxiety. There is awfulization. Patient thinks much about future outcomes. There are more autonomic symptoms of restlessness, sweating, palpitations. While in depression, the more things go towards the mood of the patient, where mood of the patient is most of the time depressed, low, and it is persistent with sometimes psychomotor retardation, decreased sleep, or sometimes suicidal ideation, loss of confidence, loss of appetite, and so there are different entities. In some cases, both the symptoms can co-occur or mix together, which we call as mixed anxiety depressive disorder.
Okay, thank you. Last two questions, which I'm clubbing into one for Nilesh sir. Sir, how to manage depression in menopause or post-hysterectomy cases? And a connected question is, what is the relation between estrogen and depression?
As I mentioned earlier, and it was shown in one of the slides also, that depression is 2 to 3 times more common in women. And one of the reasons is that they have a more sensitive deep limbic system, the area of the brain which is concerned with depression. And estrogen and serotonin are sisters. So whenever there is a fall in estrogen level, it takes serotonin along with it. So wherever there is a low serotonin, low estrogen and low serotonin go hand in hand. So say for example, premenstrual period. When the estrogen drops just before the menstruation, even serotonin drops and you have premenstrual syndrome. Postpartum, suddenly after delivery, the estrogen drops and serotonin also drops because both of them go hand in hand. And the person will develop postpartum depression. And same thing happens in menopause, that as the estrogen decreases because of the menopause, also serotonin decreases and you develop depressive symptoms. So basically, it's the same phenomena which is occurring at different stages of life. Premenstrual depression, depressive symptoms, postpartum depressive symptoms, postmenopausal depressive symptoms. Treatment remains the more or less same. Basically, it's a low serotonin, you build up the serotonin level. So antidepressants, whether you use escitalopram, whether you use sertraline, whether you use fluoxetine, whether you use mirtazapine, any antidepressant, depending on the symptom profile. Suppose you want sleep, patient has severe insomnia, you use mirtazapine. If you don't want a very sedative drug, you use escitalopram. If you want depression is associated with anxiety, which may get aggravated with SSRI, you use medicines like prothiadine or doxepin or dothiapine. So choice of antidepressant is a different thing, depends on many other factors, but basically whether it's a premenstrual syndrome, whether it's a postpartum depression, or whether it's a menopausal depression, depression is depression, the treatment remains the same. And in postpartum depression, if it's very severe and there are suicidal ideation or ideas of harming the baby, which goes towards postpartum psychosis, ECT is very effective treatment.
Okay, thank you, sir. One quick answer for last question, because this is an interesting question came just now. Should each and every suicide be considered to be caused by underlying mental illness? Quick answer, sir, for this.
Yes, I already said, it's the second time I'm saying yes, positively yes. Depression, suicidal ideation is a symptom of psychiatric disorder.
Okay. Thank you very much, all the eminent speakers, for their valuable inputs, and really today's discussion will make a difference in life of thousands of people, because you have cleared the doubts and misconceptions about depression, about suicide, about their reasons, how to live life, and how to stay away from depression. So really thank to Dr. Nilesh Shah sir, Dr. Sanjeev Sahuji sir, Dr. Monali Deshpande, Dr. Amol Patrikar, as well as Dr. Amol Deshmukh for sparing time and being with us for this today's discussion. Similarly, I thank all the audience for passionately participating in this discussion with us. Also, I thank Indian Psychiatric Society Aurangabad Branch President Dr. Anand Kale and Secretary Dr. Sanjay Ghuge for collaborating with us. Similarly, I also thank IMA Aurangabad President Dr. Santosh Ranjalkar and Secretary Dr. Yashwant Gade sir for being with us. And lastly, thanks a lot Cipla Pharmaceuticals for arranging such a wonderful webinar. And I hope we have cleared our doubts, and hope to meet you again with a different and interesting topic. Thank you very much.
And big round of applause for Dr. Vikrant Patankar for excellent presentation and conducting this session in a best possible manner. Thank you very much, Vikrant.
Thank you.